So when we are sending some wrong data, in this case 400 may occur. Okay, 400 bad request. If the access token or the security policy breaks, in that case we will receive 401 unauthorized. Okay, 405 when we are passing some wrong method or wrong verb. In that case, that means if the API is get method allowed, but the API is allowed get method, but in this case we are sending a post. So in that case, it will return 405 method not allowed. So like that way, we have different HTTP status codes. Okay, we will see it later going forward when we will go through the status codes. We will see that in which situation or in which scenario, what type of HTTP status code will return. Okay, so you can see here is my API proxy, which is executing properly, and it reaches to the backend and it returns the response from the backend only, response received from backend. That means the entire flow work as expected. That means there is no issue, and when it is returning the response from the backend, we are getting the success response. That's why it is returning 200 OK. 200 OK means success response. Okay, so this is the response we are getting from the backend, and finally we are sending the same response to the client. So now client or the user who sends the request first time, they are seeing this response in that screen. It may be mobile application, it may be desktop application. Okay, whatever it is, they are sending the request and they are receiving the request and seeing it inside in their screen. Okay, so that is how it actually works. Okay, now let me go to the policy part one by one. So this is my overall architecture of this API proxy, how to create API proxy. Now, this API proxy I have created. So what is the use of this API proxy? See, I can use this backend endpoint directly from the browser, right? mocktarget.apg.net/json. mocktarget.apg.net/json. So I can call this API proxy, a backend API directly from the browser, and I'm getting the same response. What response we are getting from the API proxy itself, right? When we are calling the API proxy from Postman, we are getting this response, and the same response we are getting when we are calling this API from the browser. So what is the difference between these two? Why we need that API proxy? So why we need that API proxy, we will see it now. So we have this flow, pre-flow, post-flow in the proxy endpoint. And in the target endpoint also, we have pre-flow and post-flow. For each flow, we have two things. One is request flow, another is response flow. That means whatever we are sending in the request, that request will be reached to backend target server, and then it will return the response, right? So in this case, we can attach any type of inbound policies. Okay, that means inbuilt policies, whatever is coming under the Apigee edge, we can apply those policies in this flow. So in the pre-flow, when we are attaching any of the policies, those policies will be applied in the entire flow, right? For any of the API proxy, when you are attaching any policies in the pre-flow, that means the entire proxy will be affected by that policy. So what we mean that? That means when we are using some common policies like some traffic management or some quota policy or some security policy, which we want to apply for entire proxy. In this case, what we can do, we can add that policy in the pre-flow. Okay, pre-flow means the top of that flow. So I'm adding, see, let me call this API proxy first. Okay, so this is my API proxy. I've started the trace and I'm calling this API proxy from my Postman. So let's say I can call this API proxy as many times as I want. Okay, see, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. That means I'm able to call this API proxy as many times as I want, and we are getting success response for each of the call, right? That means whenever let's say you are searching for your 10th board result, and there are a lot of users who are using the same endpoint, hitting the same endpoint, and lots of users are searching for that result at the same time. So there will be a load in the backend server. But in this case, how to distribute the load or how to protect our backend server? By using the traffic, by using the traffic management policy. So you can see in the Apigee, go to develop. In this pre-flow, click on this plus tab. You can see under the traffic management, we have multiple policies. We can use that. So let's say quota. So I'm using a quota policy. Just click on that quota and add it. So our quota policy has been added. You can see lots of configurations has been by default is coming. Okay. So we are not going to add this code. I mean, we have some of the by default policies, inbuilt policies, which we are going to use it. And we have to change the configurations. Okay. So let me make it very simple as we are doing it first time. So what I want to do here, I want to allow the count as, let's say 4. That means I want 4 requests to be allowed. Okay. And count reference, we are not giving any reference. That means from any header or from a query parameter, we're not going to give that. We are hard coding it. That means we are allowing only 4 requests. What is the interval? Per 1 minute interval, I want to keep that. That means I'm deleting the reference again. I will show you what when we need those reference. Okay, ref, these things. For now, I am removing this, and let's keep it very simple. So interval is 1, distributed and synchronous. Let it be. Let me change it to true. Okay, I will explain why we are making it true. And time unit. Okay, that means per how much time you want that, per minute. Okay, I'm keeping it per minute. And start time asynchronous is equal to these things I am commenting out. That means this is not in use now. Okay, I have deleted that. So my policy is very simple now, and the type calendar, these things also I want to remove. Okay, so I don't want to keep any time bound. Okay, so let me explain it now. So what I did, just a moment. Yeah. So what I did, I have used comment it out. Okay. So what I did, I have used this allow count is 4. That means it will allow only 4 requests. Interval is 1, and the time unit is minute. That means per 1 minute interval, it will allow 4 requests. If more than 4 requests will be coming within 1 minute, it will discard that request and return some default error. Okay. And distributed and synchronous is equal to true means this request would be distributed and synchronous. That means in Apigee, we have some message processor which will handle the incoming requests. Okay, that means which request will goes to what message processor, it will decided by the message processor itself. That means in Apigee, maybe there are more than 2 message processor available, right? So when a request is coming, and if you put allowed count is 4, you may have seen that more than 4 requests will be accepted because of the message processor, more message processor. But if we make it distributed and synchronous as true, that means a properly configured value will be shown here. Okay, that means the how much configuration value we will put for that much request will be allowed. If more than that request is coming, that will be discarded. Okay, now let's see how it works. So in this case, I have used 4 quota count per 1 minute interval. Okay. So let me start the trace and send a request now. Okay, so if you see before, if you have seen that we are able to send as many as we want. Okay, but now I am sending fourth, and from the fifth request onwards, I am getting error 4 to 9, too many requests. Okay, and here you can see in the trace only 4 requests is allowed. On the fifth request onwards, we are getting the error. Okay, that means we are not getting the response from the backend, right? So if you see here, tonight too many requests, and the error is getting rate limit quota violation, quota limit exceeded. Okay, policy rate limit quota violation. That means we are getting this error, and this is the status code 429. So here we are not getting 200. Okay, right? We are getting 429, too many requests. So this is coming from the APG itself, APG authorization server. By default, this error is coming. Okay, because we are sending 5 requests within 1 minute. If again once 1 minute time reaches, okay, again if you are sending the URL again, you will get success response. See, I'm sending after 1 minute. See, again we are getting 200. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, again on the fifth request, we are getting 429, too many requests. So what we will understand by using this policy, that we can protect our backend endpoint based on some value limit. That means we have set 4 requests per 1 minute. That means only 4 requests will be allowed within 1 minute. If more than 4 requests will be coming on the fifth request onwards, it will throw some error, right? So like that way, we can protect our backend endpoint. You can see by clicking on this success response. So this is our success response 200. Okay, you can see clicking on the first bubble. So this means request received from the client. That means we are sending the request from the mobile application or browser. So we are sending it. So request is coming, request received from client. Now you can see the policy, because this policy I have added. Okay, after that, after getting the request, after receiving the request, we have attached this policy. The policy name is quota policy. What it is doing, it is rate limiting. Okay, that means what is the configuration value we have set? Rate limit, quota, used count, all these things, whatever you are seeing here in this variable assigned, all those are called APG flow variables. We will use those flow variables later. Okay, for some purpose, for some operations, we will see how to use those flow variables. I will show you, but for now just understand that this rate limit quota used count is 4, which I have set in the code. Allowed count will be 4. Okay, and um, and what else? I mean, the quota policy, the name of the quota policy. Okay, what it is doing, what is the use of it, all those things you will see from this flow. Okay, here you can see it is reaching to the target server, and from the target server, it is returning the response. You can see it is reaching to the target server. From the target server, it is returning the response 200. Okay, we are getting. But um for the wrong response, okay, for the wrong response, that means this one, why it is not showing? Yeah, here it is. So for the 4 to 9, you can see here it is not reaching to the target endpoint. Are you able to see the target endpoint logo? No, right? So that means in this case, it is not reaching to the target server because request received from the client, then this policy is getting failed. You can see by seeing this red mark on it. So it is getting failed because we are passing more than 4 requests. See, you can see this one. Um, yeah, you can see exceeded count is 1, and allowed count is 4. Okay, and failed is true somewhere. You will see, yeah, here it is. Rate limit quota 1, that means this is the policy name, quota 1, and then failed is equal to true. That's why it is returning 4 to 9. For this flow, for this request, you can see the flow variable would be false. That means rate limit quota failed is equal to false. That means it is not false. It is not true. That's why it is returning success response. Like this way, we can use quota policy in our flow, and this is how we rate limit the request. Just give me a moment. Okay. Yeah. So we have seen that how to implement this quota policy. Okay. Now, see, we have multiple configuration settings using this quota policy. We will see going forward how to use those quota policy one by one. Okay. So yeah. Now we will see that how to set quota dynamically. Okay. So here in this proxy, we have set the quota hard coded. That means in the code level, we have added the quota policy. Okay. Now we will see how to set the quota dynamically. Okay. So before that, I'm going to explain few things. Okay. What is product, what is apps, and how to bundle APIs under the product and apps. Okay. How to generate the API key. Those things I'm going to cover. So as I have discussed that we have product concept in Apigee. Okay. Product means is nothing like container. Okay. It's just a container which contains API proxy. That means in one single product, we can have multiple API proxies. Similarly, when we will create API apps under our Apigee Edge, we can contain multiple products under the apps. That means under a product, we can contain multiple APIs or API proxy, we can say, and under one apps, we can add multiple products. And from that app, we can generate a unique API key and secret. Okay. Client key or secret, you can say client key and secret. And that client key, we can say it as, we can call it as API key only. Okay. Let's see how it works. If you go to publish, okay, go to products. See here we have this options API products. Go to products. And here click on this plus product, create with your name. Okay. BV first product. So I'm creating a first product, BV first product. Okay. Let's deploy it in taste. Okay. So display name I'm keeping same. Access. So we have three type of access: private, public, internal only. So you can see visible only to external developers with explicit permission during app registrations. That means if you make it private, okay, we have discussed the concept regarding the RBAC, role-based access control, right? So when you are giving access to a user, this private user, they will see this apps. If you make it public, anyone can see this applications. Internal means it will visible only to the developers of this organization during app registrations. Okay, so I'm making it public as of now. And request. So here we have to actually put the quota count. That means 4. I'm keeping request every 4. I'm keeping request 4. Okay, quota count 4. Request will be every 1 minute. That means 4 quota will be allowed. 4 request will be allowed every 1 minute. Okay, that's it. So let me go down, and here you can add the API proxy in which API proxy you want to add under this product. Okay, so I'm searching with our first API proxy which we have created, BV first API v1, add it. So I have added our first API proxy. You can see this is the base path which is added. Okay, that's it, nothing else. We are saving this. So our first product is ready. We have created our first product successfully. BV first product. Okay. Now go to apps. So here is my apps. Let's click on this plus app. Okay. BV first app. Okay. So I'm creating my first app. Now here we have this developer or company concept. Okay. So I already discussed that how to create a developer. I mean, why we need that developer. Okay. So we have each developer in our Apigee Edge. So let me add a new developer from these developers. Okay. Here you can see we have these developers. Let's click on this plus developer. Okay. Let's add Bhavitha. Okay. With your name. Let me add the same in the last name. Username Bhavitha123 and email Bhavitha123@gmail.com. Okay. Create. That means I have created a new developer with your name. So this is your details. First name, last name, email ID, username, status is active. Okay. A few seconds ago, member. Okay. So you are a registered user now. Okay. Registered developer of my Apigee platform. Now go to apps again. And if you click on this developer, okay, search with your name, Bhavitha123gmail.com is available now. Okay. This is the developer. So I am giving access to this particular developer to access my apps. That means when we are adding this developer as a developer, okay, they will get the access for this particular applications. Okay. Now coming down, expiry never. Credentials, I'm setting expiry never. You can set some duration or some date. After that duration, your access, I mean, access will be getting expired. Okay. Add a product. That means, as I told that under the apps, we can add a product. So you can see this product is comes first. PV first product. I have added this product. Okay. Now come down and custom attribute. I will tell you later. Okay. So our apps is ready. Just click on this create. So once you click on this create, our app is ready and it will generate a unique key and secret. So this key and secret is called client key and client secret. If you click on this, so you will see some encrypted value of the key and the secret. So this key, we will call it the API key. Now, why we need that? Why we have created this product and apps and all these things I have explained just now? To generate a unique API key and secret. Okay, so this API key we needed. This API key when we need, once we add some security policy in our API proxy. Okay, once we add some security policy, from that policy, we are going to generate some API key, and that API key we are going to pass into the API proxy while calling our API proxy. Otherwise, we won't be able to get access to the backend API and it will return some 401 unauthorized error. So we are successfully generated the API key, and this API key we need while calling the API proxy because we have added verify API key policy in our API proxy, and that verify API key is a security policy. To protect our backend API, we have used this security policy. Now, coming to our API proxy part. So under this application, we have this API product, BB first product, and under this BB first product, we have our actual API proxy, that is BB first API. Okay. Now go to that API proxy now. Okay. So as of now, you can see this API proxy I have added. Okay. This is a very simple API proxy. Now I am going to add a API key, okay, for this API proxy. Now, now in this API proxy pre-flow, I just clicked on this last step button and I am going to add verify API key. Okay. Let's add this. And this verify API key always should be at the beginning of all the API policies. So because whenever you will call this API proxy, the first point of contact would be this verify API key policy. That means the execution will start from this verify API key. So your API proxy will be protected. That means every time when you will call this API proxy, you need to pass the API key. Otherwise, you will not get access to the backend API. So once I attach this API verify API key policy, what it is written here in this code, verify API key async is equal to false, continue on error is equal to false. That means even your policy getting failed, it will continue. Okay, enable is equal to true. That means this policy is enabled. Name, here is the name. This is the display name and the properties, and what it is saying, API key reference, it is given request dot query param dot API key. So this request dot query param dot API key is a APG provided flow variables. Okay, that means in the request query parameter, we have to pass API key. So API key means which API key? API key means which we have just now created under the application. Means we have to. So that means we have to pass this API key into the query parameter, right? So otherwise it will return some error. Okay, let's see how it works then. So let's save this API proxy. Start the trace. Okay. And from postman, I'm going to pass this now. Okay. See, as of now, we are getting success response, right? With this URL. But now what I'm getting, 401 unauthorized. Failed to resolve API key variable request.query param.api key. Why it is returning this type of error? Because we have protected our API proxy using this verify API key policy. You can see we have added this verify API key policy, but we are not passing the API key into the query parameter. It is expecting to pass the query parameter into API key into the query parameter, right? So you can see request.queryparam.api key is blank because we have not passed any value. That's why it is getting failed, and you can see the error here. Okay, in this flow, error is failed to resolve API key variable request.queryparam.api key. Okay, if you go there into the postman again and into this param section, if you pass the API key, this is my API key, this is my query parameter name, right? You can pass it from this param section by adding the key value, API key is equal to some value, or else you can type it from the URL using this question mark. So after this question mark, whatever you will pass, that will be treated as a query parameter. Okay. So what value we will send into the API key? That is the client key. That means go to the applications. Okay, go to the apps. Where is my apps? Go to from publish, go to apps. Okay. So here let's search with your application name. So this is the application which we have created under which our API proxy is added. So this is my API key. So this is my API key. Okay. Let me send this here as a value. Right now, call this API. See, we will get 200 okay success response, right? Because we have passed the expected API key into the query parameter, and we are getting success response now, right? This is one scenario which I was trying to explain. Okay. So how to use this API key now? Now our main goal is to set the quota count dynamically. Okay. So how to set it dynamically? Instead of hard coding it into this code as I did it as a 4 per 1 minute interval. How to hard code it? Let's see. Okay. Now go to the trace and check this. Okay. Here you can see for 200 okay response, we got the success response because we passed the API key into the query parameter. Now click on this first policy, and here you can see some of the variable that is called APG provided flow variables. So those are getting assigned. From there, I'm going to take some of the flow variables. Let's say this one. So here you can see verify API key dot verify API key 1 is my policy name. Okay, verify API key dot verify API key 1. Verify API key is a variable prefix which is coming by default, and verify API key one. This is my policy name. Okay. Dot API product, because I have added the configuration inside the API product, and this verify API is coming from the API product and applications. So dot developer dot quota dot limit. So this is one type of flow variable. By default, it is coming into the Apigee flow, into the trace. I have not, or you are not adding this, or no one has added this. This is by default is coming as Apigee provided. So I just copied it. Okay, and the value you can see 4, because into the product I have added 4 as a quota limit. So the limit is 4. Let me open a notepad, okay, and keep a copy of this flow variables. So here is my first flow variable, verify API key dot verify API key 1 API product developer dot quota dot limit. So it will say that what is the limit of your quota. Now coming to the second variable, that is this one, verify API key dot API product dot developer dot quota dot interval. That means what is the time what is the time interval. Okay, that means 1. And the third one is time unit. Okay, let's see where it is. Time unit is minute. Here it is. So this is my third variable, quota dot time unit. That means per how, what is the time unit per 1 minute interval, I'm going to set a 4 quota limit. So these 3 variables I need to set the quota dynamically. Okay, so if you see in the previous proxy where we have set our quota count 1 per minute, I mean quota count 4 per 1 minute interval. Okay, that means we have set this in the policy level. So if you want to set this type of configurations for each of the proxy, let's say this is one of your proxy, you have 100 of proxies. Okay, in your organizations where you are working in a project, you have 100 of proxies, and for those proxies, each proxy you have to set this 4 quota count per 1 minute interval. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to go one by one for each of the proxy and add this type of quota count. Instead of doing this, instead of adding one by one for each of the proxy, what you can do, you can set this inside a product, right? And add all those proxies in a single product. Okay, and that product in a apps, and that app will generate a unique API key. Now you can set the configuration value 4 per minute, 5 per minute, 6 per minute, 10 per minute, or whatever it is. What is the configuration you want to set, the quota count, you can set it into the product level instead of adding it into the policy level. So one advantage is that you don't have to go each and every policy proxy one by one and add that configurations for each of the proxy, right? Instead of doing that, what you can do, you can centrally manage that quota count inside a product level. That's what I'm going to do now. So here you can see this is your API proxy, and here we have added one policy that is called verify API key. Using this verify API key, I'm going to identify that for which product my proxy is getting executed, and under that product only I'm adding my quota limit. Okay, so here you can see some of the hard coding value. Instead of adding those hard coded value, I'm going to use my configuration now. Let me take a reference from one of my API proxy now. One moment. Set dynamically. Okay. So you can see, go to develop. You can see here we have this 3 variable which we have added. Okay. And identifier reference would be client ID. Let me explain you. Let me just copy these things, okay, and paste it in my proxy. Here, here I have added this. Okay, see, identifier reference is client ID. That means using this client ID means from here, what I'm passing, That API key is called nothing but this is the client ID only. So using that client ID, I am identifying my proxy. That means for that particular client ID, as this client ID is unique for each API, for each apps, it would be unique. So for that particular client ID, what is the product we can easily recognize, right? So for that particular product, what is the quota limit we have added, that will be shown here. So identifier I have given client ID, allow count reference, we have given this variable which we have taken from the trace. So this is my flow variable. Okay. So here it is. And this is my interval. Okay. And this is my time unit. Okay. That's it. Distributed synchronous is true. I have I just kept it as it is. Okay, that's it. We are setting some reference, okay, from the product level, API product level. Now, whatever configuration you will put inside this product, that will be called. Okay. So go to your product and see the quota count. So quota is 4 requests every 1 minute I have added, right? That means it will allow only only 4 requests per 1 minute. Okay. Now go to your proxy and save this. We have successfully saved this and go to trace, start the trace and call this from postman. Okay. So we are passing the API key, so it won't return any 401 unauthorized error. Okay, now send this. We got success response. See, second time I have called, third time, fourth time, and from fifth time onwards, I am getting error. Rate limit, quota violation, quota limit exceeded. Identifier. What is the identifier? Identifier I have given the API key. So that is the client ID. That means this client ID I have given as identifier. That's why it is returning this error. And you can see we have not added any quota count in my code. You won't be able to see this. I just given the reference variable. Okay. And that reference variable we have set inside our product level. So in the product, you can see actual quota count, 4 requests every 1 minute. That's why we are able to call 4 requests per 1 minute. And the fifth request onwards, we are getting 4 to 9, too many requests. That's how we can dynamically set the quota count inside the product level. Okay. Again, once the 1 minute time reaches, 1 minute time limit reaches, you can call another request. Okay, let's call it again. You will see 200 again. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again from the fifth request onwards, we are getting rate limit quota violations. Okay. Based on this configuration, whatever you will put inside this product, let's say instead of 4, I am putting 5. Okay, 5 per 1 minute. Let's save this. Now you will able to call 5 times. Okay, from 6th time onwards, it will return some error. Let me start the trace again. Go to postman. So now go to this postman, okay, and send this request. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is not updated yet. It will take some time to update the product. Okay, let's wait for some time. Okay, let's wait for some time. It will take some time to update it. Okay, 5 requests every 1 minute. I have added this anyway. Let's go to trace, start the trace and try it now. Wait, 1 minute time is not reached yet.
So in the meantime, just let me check the variables. You can see verify API key. This API product interval is 1. The quota time unit is minute. You can see, okay. And client ID, you won't be able to see it because this is a security issue. Okay, client ID is coming as asterisk sign, and the developer quota limit, you can see 4, okay, because we have set 4 into the in the previous quota count. We have set 4 into the product level. So all those flow variable we'll able to see here, okay. Let me try it now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, now from the 6th request onwards we are getting 429 too many requests. See, okay. So that's how our quota policy works, okay. So that's it from the quota policy.